Great. And it reads, the Board of County Commissioners to accept the fiscal 2020 Recreational Trail Program project in the amount of $40,680 to provide a match of 20% for the total project cost and authorize the President to execute a memorandum of understanding with State Highway Administration to lease equipment for the maintenance of the Great Allegany Passage. Without objection, we'll add that as number 20 to the consent agenda. All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the last public business meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving to our presentations tonight. Item number 1, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we're joined with Mrs. Klein with the Family Crisis Resource Center and someone else you brought along?
Hi.
You Jessica, come on up if you have anything to present.
I would just like to say on behalf of the Family Crisis Resource Center that we would like to express our gratitude for the county commissioners in honoring this month, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and going along with that, really recognizing and also honoring those members of our community that are impacted by domestic violence. So thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
We do have a citation. Please come on up.
Please, have we taken that? How are you doing? All right. The good guy.
This is an official proclamation, and it reads, for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, directly affecting individuals, our community, our nation, and people throughout the world. The Family Crisis Resource Center in Cumberland served nearly 600 local clients last year and provided services to all these victims at no cost. The need for safe housing is the survivor's most urgent need, and FCRC provided 3,756 nights of safe housing in our community last year. Therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners, wish to highlight the important work of Family Crisis Resource Center and proclaim October 2019 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Allegany County. Thank you.
One moment. Commissioner Allegany, please over here by Commissioner Shea. Thank you. And closer in for the flags. Thank you.
Check was fireline.
That's right. Eyes closed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, next up, the Allegheny County Library System Summer Reading Program, Mr. John Tobe. And Jennifer Howe, sorry, it was on a separate line.
Well, good evening and thank you, Commissioners. It's great to be here and allowing us to talk about our summer reading program. As you know, the summer reading program is what we do every summer to prevent the summer slumps so that we don't, all the great things that students learn in school, that they continue programs and they carry it through so when September starts, they're not starting behind the 8 ball. And again, we just wanted to let you know about one of the many ways that the library system is helping to pave the way for success and prosperity for all of our Allegheny County residents. And you know, the behind the scenes of all of this is that reading is really important. As a recent report came out showing that low reading rates led to higher rates of crime, higher unemployment rates, and higher rates of incarceration. So I wanted to say that reading is very important to everyone, and the brains and the work behind the summer reading program is Jennifer Howell, so I will gladly step out of the way and let Jennifer take the accolades she deserves.
Well, I don't know about that, but good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present you with information about Summer at Your Library 2019. And I had planned to play the theme from Space Odyssey 2001, but I couldn't get it to work. So you'll just have to imagine that in the background. I've just aged myself there. So bear with me while I get this to play.
Stanley.
All right, so first of all, I wanted to start out with what exactly is a summer reading program? They were originally designed by public libraries to help elementary age students avoid summer learning loss, like John said. Libraries offer programs and prizes to help encourage reading. But since then, there has been a move nationwide to rebrand summer reading as Summer at Your Library. So it sounds much cooler, I guess. But no, it has been expanded to include programs and prizes for all ages. So not just elementary age kids. We have programs for toddlers to tweens to seniors. And there is the programming team. That's a picture taken at the superhero dance party at LaVale. So the programming team plans Summer at Your Library starting actually this time of year. We conduct a survey with the community and the staff at the end of summer reading to gather feedback to help us make the program better every year. And I've included some of the responses from this year's survey in my presentation. Sorry. There we go. So, and notice John was nowhere to be found.
How far away I am from the picture, too.
Yeah,
They were able to bring it in this evening. They're going to bring it in the hallway.
yeah, and I will be at that door, so.
And that snake is named Buttercup. That's a favorite from the Tri-State Zoo. So we design a variety of interesting and enjoyable programs for our community, with each library having a large family event and additional programs for older kids and adults. We reach out to local businesses and organizations for help purchasing prizes and paying presenters. We pick out fun prizes that go along with the national theme, this year's being a universe of stories. We finalize the reading logs and send them to the printer. At the start of the spring, we try to get people excited about summer reading by doing a tote bag contest. Have any of you participated in this tote bag contest? We actually have a lot of people waiting each year to see what color we're going to pick. And they have all of the bags. We call it the ACLS Fashion Tote Bag Collection. But in seriousness, it does help generate excitement and interest for the program. Here's a listing of our local sponsors, and we could not have this, and we are going to be presenting you with that poster after I wrap up here today. But we could not make this program possible without our local sponsors, and of course the Allegany County government. Thank you very much. Starting in May, the logs are available, and we go out into the community and distribute 15,000 logs to schools and community groups. We spend a significant amount of time doing outreach outside the walls of the library to reach those who may never come to a library. We focus on high-need groups such as Head Start classes, and we hope that our efforts will help to increase kindergarten readiness scores across the county. In the summer of 2019, almost 1,200 people attended our 10 special events, and over 2,000 attended story time and toddler time during the 8 weeks of summer reading. We also had 429 new library cards created. Playing along with the space theme this year, the prizes included alien slime, space explorer duckies, solar system mobiles, flying rockets, or telescopes. I was going to bring some for you all to play with during the meeting, but I thought, well, maybe not. This is the first year where each child received a book and a prize. Kids were also entered into a grand prize drawing for the Maryland Science Center tickets and Orioles tickets. The Queen City Creamery once again came through and gave every child a free cone of frozen custard in exchange for a coupon that listed 5 books they read. We had a really cool new partnership this year with the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad. I talked to the manager there, and she said they had 50 kids bring in a train ticket. We had people calling who had never been to a library before. They reached out to us in an effort to get more people on the train, and so when a child turned in a reading log, they got a free train ticket. And we also gave bookworms. If I go back here, they're actually gummy worms, not really bookworms. And now the fun begins. I've explained the structure of the program. The next slides will show the images that were captured in the libraries over the summer. And again, the quotes are from actual parents. I really couldn't have written them better. I do have the surveys to prove I did not write them, but they're amazing. So again, we give Orioles tickets. There's Andon Ferris on the right. He goes to the Georges Creek Library. He got to go down on the field at a really cool ceremony in August.
And the Orioles won that game, by the way.
Oh, my gosh.
One of the ones they did.
1-1.
Amazingly. We had teen winners, adult winners, and that gentleman is smiling there because he won a round of golf for 4 at the Rocky Gop Resort and Casino. They donated those to us. We kicked off the summer with the block party at South Cumberland. If any of you have ever been that, there's Eugene Frazier. He's a great volunteer at the block party. And we couldn't make this possible without our community partners. There's Eugene again, manning the whale with Mary Jane O'Rourke. There's the Coney Days Campfire. It was in the backyard at Georges Creek Library, which is right in the heart of Coney. And we had the best ever campfire until it started to rain. We had 150 people in the back eating food, listening to the music, bouncing in the bounce houses. The Tri-State Zoo visited the Westernport Library. There was a very brave volunteer. And it's just great to see the smiles on people's faces at a library event. It really brought the community together. We had 131 people there in that little library in July. That's the funniest thing he does. He pretends like he doesn't know it's on him, and the kids go wild. We had adult programs. You can see the packed house in LaVale for the Appalachian Tall Tales. We had a paint and sip. Those are very popular now. Renee Mason, our very talented arts and graphics coordinator, led it. They created a starry night over Cumberland.
Oh, there's Amanda.
We partnered with the Frostburg State Planetarium to have a special viewing night at their beautiful new communication building.
I think my sister went.
And that is Dr. Crawford dropping an egg from heights to see if it will go splat. And again, just wonderful quotes. Frostburg Library is such a gift to our community. A magician presented a magic show. We had a Star Wars movie and some strange person showed up in costume. Just kidding. And we wrapped up the summer with the superhero dance party at LaVale. And it was a huge success. And I put this as the final
Sierra.
quote. Sorry.
County employee,
Okay.
in the photo.
Oh, I thought you said time.
No.
I thought I was getting
No, it was our own Sierra Wigfield is in the
great,
photo.
great. Yeah, sorry. I thought I-
Credits are rolling.
Pretty good. 5 minutes ago.
But yes, this last quote, it really summarizes the program better than I ever could. It has encouraged our children to read more than I could alone. All 3 of our children have a love for reading and learning unlike I've ever seen. Thank you. So the theme next year is, we're going to be announcing that soon. So we're already getting started planning for next year. So please bring your families, come to the adult events, come and see us. So thank you for the opportunity.
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you all.
We'll be visiting.
Thank you.
One more thing,
Please.
and I think the key to the success of Jennifer's work in the programming department is that they make it fun. You know, it's fun with a purpose. They're reading, they're engaging with others. I think there's so much to be said for that. But she also said that everybody gets a summer reading club prize. So your summer reading club prizes are your very own copy of the Read posters. So
Wow.
we're very proud that you were able to sit with us. Let's see, we have, actually, I've got 2 here, Jennifer. What's that? We do have.
Thank you. There you go. Put that up at the store.
One
Thank
for
you,
the-
John.
For the marquee and everything.
Oh,
So,
great. Wow.
Thank you.
We have more copies if you'd like them for your home or office.
Thank you.
Commissioners will be signing copies later on.
So you know Ty Johnson's doing one for us soon.
Well, there we go.
Awesome.
Great.
We'll get covered over then if he's doing one, yeah.
Thank you.
John and Jackie,
Thank you all.
a picture with the
Picture with the picture?
Okay.
Jake, you can hold a picture.
We'll hold a. Easy, Nedved.
Excellent.
Hold up how many books are
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Good to see you, son.
See you.
All right. Moving into our public hearings tonight, item number 3 is Code Home Rule Bill 2-19. This is a public hearing to amend Chapter 461 Code of Public Laws of Allegheny County, Maryland, to prohibit the use of traffic photo monitoring devices. This is a public hearing. Is there any public comment on this item? All right. Gentlemen, we've talked about this before. It's been written up in the press. It was actually on MACO's blog statewide. We'd be the first county in the state to ban speed cameras. And as we've talked about, it's not a way that we want to balance our budget. We think it's more geared towards increasing taxes and fees than it is for safety. We can actually have a vote on this tonight, and I would make the motion that we move forward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Moving to under our action agenda, this is various property tax credits for fiscal year 2020. Mr. Rudd.
Yeah, this is kind of an annual deal. State law authorizes what credits and exemptions you can give to county property tax. This is the list of the entities that have requested it. They meet the qualifications, they meet the provisions of the state code. So our recommendation is to grant these credits.
Any discussion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next one is a manufacturer's tax exemption, is item number 5. Mr. Rudd.
Yes, this applies only to AES, effectively the only entity in the county that now pays manufacturer's tax because they're an electric manufacturer. There's a whole quirk in the law, but anyway, they're entitled to it. It's capital investments that they've made. You see that they made $3.4 million investment. They get a credit on that less $50,000. So it's anyway. So it's an annual thing. Once again, it's a benefit to them. Obviously, there's been a lot of capital in the county, which is a great thing, and that's what it's encouraged to do. And of course, keep jobs and so forth. So anyway, recommend that you grant the manufacturer's tax credit.
They've been a great community partner. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item number 6 is Youth Reach Maryland's 2020 Youth Count. Tanya Gomer and David Nedved.
Oh, do you have a show? No. Oh, it's just. Commissioners, about 2 years ago, the county was asked to become the lead agency for the continuum of care. The continuum of care is it's funding basically through HUD, and also there's HSP funding, Homeless Solutions Program, which is a combination of federal and state funding. And between the two programs, there's almost $1 million worth of funding that goes through, that benefits this county for various homeless programs, homelessness programs. The county was asked to become the COC lead agency, basically to remove the bias by having the providers. Previously, HRDC was the COC lead agency. But with that responsibility then comes ways of meeting HUD requirements. And one of the things that HUD has been doing lately is they've become more performance-driven. But before they can become more performance-driven, they also have to have better data. And one of the things that they're asking us to do, the state has put up money for us to count homeless youth in our county. It turns out, unbeknownst to us, we are one of the last counties to actually have a formal survey count of the homeless youth in our county. There's 4 counties left, and it pretty much sounds like if we aren't part of the program this year, we'll pretty much be the only county that's not part of it. The state has put up money. They're going to provide $5,000 worth of funding to help us do this census count, which is going to pretty much happen at the same time as the big census. It will happen mid-March through mid-April, I think, basically, is our timeline. And they've laid it out. They've got a whole game plan, and they were going to help us every step of the way on what we got. They've got it kind of canned on what we need to do. But at this point, I'll let Tanya talk a little bit about, because she's been a big help, and I do have to, she was a big help in getting the proposal done and how we're going to get this survey done, but I'll let her talk a little bit about it.
Good evening. With this youth count, it targets the population of youth 24 and younger. And we know that there are homeless youth in Allegany County, but we are not capturing them and providing services to them. And it's because of the way they define homeless youth. These are the people that are living with folks other than their parents or custodial guardians. So these are the ones staying with boyfriends and girlfriends, staying with other family members, or just couch surfing with friends. So we know they're out there, and I think there is a misconception in the community that there are no programs to help homeless youth, but there are. So this initiative will provide us the $5,000 in funding, which will provide incentives for us to have youth ambassadors that can help us identify and capture who these people are. So in my mind, I think that formulating a partnership with Frostburg State, with ACM, as well as with the public school system, to use the leadership at each of those institutions to help us identify who these homeless youth are. As part of the funding, they will provide us with tablets, which then become county property, which in my mind I intend to use for the actual census because we'll be doing that as well. So that just gives us more technology, more means, so we can actually get good counts and good numbers. And with having those numbers, it also increases the amount of funding that our providers will be able to have when we do our next continuum of care application, our next HSP application, to be able to provide supportive services for youth in the community.
Great.
Good.
Commissioners, we're asking at this point, sorry, I'll get back to that. We're asking for your approval of the attached scope of work, and also to authorize the finance director to sign a purchase order for $5,000 worth of funding from DHCD for this count.
Great. Thank you for your work on that. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, item number 7 is Locust Grove Sewage Improvement Project. This is a agreement with DHCD. Mr. Nedved.
Commissioners, this is a little unusual. It's paperwork that I've never had to do before, but evidently the last time DHCD, CDBG was the basic agency for ARC, my understanding was that the paperwork wasn't done right, not at our level, at the state level. And unfortunately, DHCD had to actually cover the cost of the grant that ARC was going to provide us, which was Moss Avenue. You know how long ago that was. So we're now, I can see that this is now a new requirement, but basically I can see that the state's putting us through this because they're trying to make sure that there isn't any hang-ups in getting the ARC funding. So this is an unusual thing that I've been doing this for 11 years, and I've never seen this before. But so I'm running it through as a resolution. It's a resolution to signed the fiscal agent and grant agreement that the DHCD has provided to accept the funding from the ARC for the Locust Grove project. This is in addition to the grant agreement that we have already authorized to sign. So this is something new and something on top of what they normally have us sign. So that's why it's a resolution. Commissioner, so at this point, I'm just asking for authorization. The resolution will authorize the president of the Board of County Commissioners to execute any and all documents required in regards to this agreement, and then in general for anything that needs to be signed in the future due to this additional funding from ARC.
Great. Good to see the federal government hard at work. I'll make the motion we approve this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. Moving the consent agenda. Mr. Butler.
Good evening, Commissioners. Item number 8 is the fiscal 2020 capital and operating assistance grant agreements. Item number 9 is the 2020 to 2022 Jobs Access Reverse Commute Program. That is JARC operating assistance grant agreements. Item number 10 is surplus real property. Item number 11 is also surplus real property. Item number 12 is a declaration of surplus property, and I will not read the VINs. Item number 13 is the purchase of a new dump truck. Item number 14 is the federal fiscal year 2019 State Homeland Security Program grant acceptance. Item number 15 is the fiscal 19 Emergency Management Performance Grant acceptance. Item number 16 is the fiscal 18 grant acceptance, as well as an adjustment to that performance grant period. Item number 17 is the Family Junction Incorporated Parenting Services at the Detention Center. Item number 18 are bleachers and team bleacher benches bid award amendment. Item number 19 is the award of a contract to ICF Incorporated LLC for the Autonomous Vehicle Center bid. Commissioners, if, just to remind you on that one, that was 2 weeks ago that we put that out for bid. Item number 20 is the federal fiscal year 2020 Recreational Trail Program project grant and memorandum of understanding.
Wonderful. Gentlemen, any discussion?
No, sir.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Beat you to it, Commissioner. Mr. Rudd.
I have nothing.
Mr. Butler.
Commissioners, all I just wanted to point out was that we have 6 items on the consent agenda that all had to do with grants that we just recently got, and that is something that we've been taking a much greater concerted effort, and I want to particularly thank Tanya Gomer, our grants writer. She has been doing a fantastic job, even though she hasn't been here for yet a year on the job, and already winning a ton of grants for us.
Wonderful. Commissioner Caparelli.
I'll be working my shift at the Lion's Chicken this weekend, so make sure to stop up and see us.
Good. Will there be bread or pepperoni rolls?
That may be in the back.
Okay. Right. Keep an eye on that.
Okay.
Commissioner Brody.
Sir, I have nothing this evening.
Great. The only thing I will say is finally, our final floodplains are in the final stages of approval at the federal level. So those will be updated, I think, they say in the next 90 days or so. I think the final maps and everything, I don't know if we have to approve them or not, but they'll be coming out in the next few months. So keep an eye on that. That has been a very long time coming. All right. Signed up to speak tonight, we have Mr. Kevin Shape. Welcome.
Before I get started, President Shade, the last time I was here, which was about 6 years ago, I was standing at this podium, and the meeting kind of ended, and an elderly man came up to me, and the podium was kind of turned this way, the table wasn't here, and he was beet red, and he was mad as a hornet, and he said to me that, you know, I'd like for you to apologize to my wife. And the only reason why I bring this up is I'm going to give a presentation that's about 5 minutes long, and I would appreciate it if you would help me out in case someone comes up here, because I'll tell you, it was very unnerving to have someone come up and right behind you and be in that kind of a state. So if you could help me out. And just to let you know, at that meeting, I had asked for a budget amendment of $100,000 for the food bank, and the commissioners said that they wouldn't do that. It was just a budget item type thing. It wouldn't have cost them anything until the food banks actually ran out of money. And now here on your item 6, you're talking about homeless youth, and it appears as if it's gone from bad to worse since Kevin left 6 years ago. Regarding the poor, now we have homeless, and I would like to offer that up to you again, that maybe you could put $100,000 in your budget to provide food for the poor. I know that, and I don't see Mr. Bennett here, but on page 20 in your budget for 2020, you have approximately $1,300 for burying people that are poor. And it kind of makes me chuckle in a sick kind of way that we as a society will pay for poor people to be buried, but we won't give them any money for food. And it seems to me like that's backwards. So I kind of hope that at some point you will relook at that, put $100,000 into your budget and for the local food banks in case they run out. But that's really not why I'm here right now. I want to get started on this, and this is really important to me. So my name's Kevin Schaefer, live at 829 National Highway in LaVale, and I'm here as a private citizen. And so if there's anyone in the audience that doesn't want to hear what I'm about to say, they can leave. You're allowed to do that. And if there's anyone watching on the World Wide Web, they can mute their device. They can do that as well. So President Shade and Commissioner Caparelli, I'm going to ask you two to do something tonight that most men will admit is the most difficult thing for a man to do. I want you to provide to me a written apology, have it published so that all the citizens will know that their First and 14th Amendment rights will be protected in public meetings here in Allegany County. Now, the reason why I say that is on a December 10th, 2013 letter, it was addressed to me. It started off, "Dear Mr. Schaefer," it was very polite. It said, "You appeared at the County Commissioners meeting on December 5, 2013. At that meeting, you addressed the commissioners, and during your presentation, you used obscene and inappropriate language. You had previously been advised that such language would not be acceptable in such a setting. The commissioners' meeting was adjourned. You then began a profanity-laced tirade directed to the commissioners. This was followed by a verbal confrontation with a constituent in which you attempted to escalate the confrontation from a verbal one to a physical one. Present in the audience was a young student from the Calvary Christian Academy who was there for a class assignment, and the commissioner meetings are broadcast live on the internet. It is clear that you were unable to behave in an appropriate manner in a public forum, and that you do not take into consideration the effect that your behavior has on others who have a right to participate in their government. Therefore, until further notice, you are barred from attending all county commissioner meetings. And again, politely, thank you for your anticipated consideration. Sincerely, Mike McKay, President." I now call Mike McKay a fascist because the definition of a fascist is a dictator having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition and criticism. He, of course, had enablers that night, as all fascists do. So, I want to ask you two men if you will issue that policy and let the citizens know that they have a fundamental right of First and 14th Amendment to speak out in public meetings.
I'm not sure what went on before. I just met you. You seem like a very nice man.
Thank you very much.
I showed you respect, and I think that what it really comes down to, we ask that you would do the same here. I mean, that's, I think, as far as it goes, it's not opposing on anybody's rights or anything like that. It's just that,
Civility.
it's just that simple, you know.
Civility.
Yes, sir.
You know, Commissioner McKay said the same thing, we can all be civil. And I would say, yes, we can. But the Constitution of the United States says we don't have to be civil. We don't have to be. And so I'm just asking to be able to exercise my fundamental rights, as I understand them, to come here. And as an example, if John Tobe were here, I could say, I won't be able to say, based on what you just said, that I like reading, and I contributed books to the library written by Professor Christopher Fairman. Now, Mr. Caparelli, you may say to me, Mr. Schaefer, what did Professor Fairman write in that book? Or what was the title of that book?
I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Well, I am now. The title of the book is Fuck. It's written by Professor Christopher Fairman. He's dead, and he was a legal scholar. And he said, you ought to be able to say that word in a public meeting, just like I did now. And John Tobe took that book, and he put it in every branch of the library so that our citizens, and may I say, children can read that book. Because it's an important fundamental right. It's almost as important as the Second Amendment is to a lot of people here. And we don't want to take guns away from anyone. So again, thank you for letting me put that in. So again, I came here to ask, will you do that? Because I got more stuff here to read. I can go on with my presentation.
Well, we're probably getting close to the 5 minutes, but you're certainly not, you know, you came and presented tonight. I wasn't here in 2013 either, so I can't really comment on what went on then or didn't go on then.
You don't know the story?
I only know some
Well, your
background.
county attorney can certainly tell you.
But that was all.
Are you asking for permission to come and speak, to rescind what Mike McKay said how many years ago? That's 3 terms ago, for God's sake.
No, I'm asking for an apology, and the
You're
apology.
asking them to apologize for something that Mike McKay did.
Well,
essentially.
if you remember, Mike McKay apologized to me for what Jim Statham did to me. So there's a precedent there.
Well, there is a precedent, but I think whether they want to apologize is up to them. I'm not sure asking somebody, it's like asking, you know,
Well, they can certainly do it.
president to apologize for somebody did something 200 years ago. I mean,
Well-
it's up to them. They didn't do it.
No, but they could certainly say that was wrong. And okay, so let me just tell you what Chief Justice John Roberts says about this, because obviously Kevin doesn't have the force. But Chief Justice John Roberts in Snyder versus Phelps, it was an 8-to-1 majority opinion, and it's short. And here's what he says about speech and speakers. He said, speech is powerful. It can stir people to action, move them to tears of both joy and sorrow, and, as it did here, inflict great pain. On the facts before us, we cannot react to that pain by punishing the speaker. As a nation, we have chosen a different course to protect even hurtful speech on public issues to ensure that we do not stifle public debate. Now, I can tell you, men, that my participation in local government stopped that night. And that's not fair to me. And it's not fair to anyone else that read what happened the next day in the newspaper and said, I'm not going there with that fascist Mike McKay running the program because he doesn't understand the First Amendment. That's why I'm here, for you to stand up and say, you know, Mr. Schaefer, just based on what Chief Justice John Roberts said in Snyder versus Phelps, do you know what that case was about, President Shade?
No, and I'm not an attorney, and
No. Well, just briefly.
I'll tell you, I support the First Amendment, and I also support some sort of standard decorum that we have in public settings. So again, we're happy to have you here tonight and speak your mind, and we're happy to hear your opinion as one of our constituents. And you know, this is supposed to be, you know, what your opinion on some things. We're happy to hear it, but we don't need to get into a whole big back and forth.
No, I'm not interested in the back and forth. But I can tell you that in Cohen versus California, the Supreme Court clearly said, because Melville Nimmer, who was his attorney, after the Chief Justice Warren Burger said to him, "You're not going to use those words in the Supreme Court, are you?" And he said, "Your Honor, my client, Paul Cohen, walked through the Los Angeles County Courthouse, and on his jacket, he had these words written, 'Fuck the draft.'" And Mr. Nimmer said, they didn't want me to say it in the Supreme Court, and because he did say it, he won the case. And not only did he win the case for Mr. Cohen, because I just said it, he won the case for Mr. Schaefer. What Mike McKay to me did to me was unconscionable. It went against everything that the First Amendment free speech right stands for, and we are protected by the 14th Amendment, incorporating that into the state of Maryland. I am here to ask you to set the record straight and simply apologize to me and say to the public, hey, President Shade and Commissioner Caparelli believe in free speech, and you can come, just like Mr. Schaefer did, and speak your mind and use the words you want to. Mike McKay wanted me to use the word beep, and I did that one time in a letter to the editor, and I said those three commissioners were beeping incompetent because the Times News won't use the other word. So I'm finished, man. I mean, either you apologize or you don't. We're good to go. Apology, no?
Mr. Shaver, we support the First Amendment. I think you found that out here tonight. We support the 14th Amendment. We support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Maryland and uphold the laws.
We're not a court, you know.
The county has made a voluminous amount of decisions over the years that I don't agree with, and if we had to apologize for every single one, and I really don't know the situation that went on in 2013, so I can't offer an apology for another board of commissioners in the decision at the time, because I don't know.
Well, there was a precedent there, because Mike McKay did it to me. He apologized because of what Jim Stakem did.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, our next public business meeting is Thursday, October 24th at 5 p.m. Meeting's adjourned.
President Shade, I want to thank you for listening to me. You, Commissioner Caparelli, thank you for letting me use my word. That certainly proved it. And the reason why I spoke to you too is because one of those 3 minutes that pressed my fundamental rights to free speech is sitting between you two men, and that's a shame.
Well, I don't agree with that, but
It's a shame, all right.